Good morning. This is Paula, and I'm here to share with you one of the books that I just read. It is called A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. You can see that I made the Altoid Box book report to share it with you. That's the cover. The book begins. It was a dark and stormy night. The setting, the action begins in the home of Meg and Charles Wallace in the night, and it was storming. Then, with the help of 3 astral travelers, they go to many other planets. The main one, Kamazotz. The characters are Meg Murray, Charles Wallace, Meg's friend Calvin O'Keefe, their father, Mr. Murray, Mrs. Who, Mrs. Whatsit, and Mrs. Witch, the Black Thing, IT, or It, as I like to call it, Aunt Beast, and the Red-Eyed Man. And you can see I'm drawing my cards from my Altoid box. It all fits in one box. The inciting force was Meg and Charles Wallace's father disappeared over a year earlier. They now have the opportunity to go and search for him after Meg and Charles Wallace meet the 3 strange women. The basic conflict is between good and evil. Good being individual and unique. Evil being a conformist. The basic support of the book is not based in religion, but rather science, physics to be exact. And the picture shows how the shortest distance is between 2 points is not a straight line. The rising action occurs when Meg, Charles, and Calvin leave with Mrs. Whatsit and run into peril. Mrs. Whatsit reveals her true form, a centaur, and they learn that their father is being held by a dark power. They see the Black Thing. The climax happens when they rescue father and he testers, which is a form of travel, them away from it. But they have to leave Charles Wallace, and Meg has to go back and release him from it. The following action occurs when Meg releases Charles from it. And the resolution, Meg, Calvin, Charles Wallace, and father are tested back to Earth and reunited with their family. The time travel in this book is produced by an object called a tesseract. And there it is. It's a 5-dimensional object. Now, to talk more about the characters, this book is full of great characters. And now to discuss characters. The first is Meg Murray. She's 12 years old, loyal and protective of family, especially Charles Wallace, impatient, angry, stubborn, not attractive, wears glasses, and is quite emotional at times. Charles Wallace is 5 years old. He's different. He knows things 5-year-olds should not know, and without being told. Genius, but prideful and arrogant. And he's very loving of his sister Meg. The father, or Mr. Murray, is very protective protective of Meg. He tries to be patient. He's a scientist. He's the one that discovered the Tesseract way, which is a way to travel to other planets. So he is probably also genius. He had been missing for over a year, but as he tells Meg, he is fallible. He is not perfect. Mrs. Whatsit had a voice like an unoiled gate. Oh, it must have been screechy. Her true form was a centaur. She's the one who is closest to the children. She used to be a light emitting star until the black thing took over. She's the youngest of the three guides. Mrs. Who is a plump woman with thick, huge glasses. She has trouble speaking, so she uses quotes. Mrs. Witch. She's a shadow. She can hardly be seen, but she's there. She's the wisest and most powerful. Not as friendly as the other two, but very protective of the children. She's the oldest, and she speaks in a way that draws out words like Vanka. It is a disembodied alien brain. This is the black thing, the evil shadow that covers planets and kills everything. It controls the man with the red eyes. The man with the red eyes, he has fiery red eyes, although his voice is kind and gentle. So he's probably a bit of a trickster. He is a liar. He is very threatening, and he does not speak out loud. He just speaks through his mind. The last character that we're going to highlight is Ant Beast. She's a very, very tall gray thing. Has 4 arms and lots of waving tentacles at the end of each one. She lives on the planet Ichtil. She communicates through her fingers. She heals Meg from it and takes care of her. She is very motherly. There are some other characters. Mrs. Murray, Charles Wallace, and Meg have two siblings who are twins, and but they don't play a very big role in this book. So that is the characters. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can use this in the classroom. The thing that stuck out to me or jumped out at me was the caricature thing that we did in the very beginning of class. Meg and Charles Wallace both have different character traits. They're not perfect. They have some faults. They also have some strengths. And sometimes their faults became their strengths, as you will find out with Meg. I think having the students do caricatures and list their strengths and their faults would fit really well with this book. So that's how I would use this in the classroom. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little excerpt with you. Another way I think this could be used in the classroom is book selection. These are very small. You can make up a whole pile of them with different books that you'd like to see your students reading and put them in a basket and maybe number the back of the box and let the students pick a book, and when they see one and they read through one of these that they really like, then they can choose that book to read. And so that's another option, is during the silent reading time for book selection. Another way you could use this book is when you are studying books that are award winners. This one here won the Newbery Award, which is an award given for the best children's book of the year prior. Now we will have to wait, said Mrs. Whatsit, for sunset and moonset. Almost as she spoke, the light began to deepen, to darken. "I want to watch the moon set," Charles Wallace said. "No, child. Do not turn around, any of you. Face out towards the dark. What I have to show you will be more visible then. Look ahead, straight ahead, as far as you can possibly look." Meg's eyes ached from the strain of looking and seeing nothing. Then, above the clouds which encircled the mountain, she seemed to see a shadow. A faint thing of darkness so far off that she was scarcely sure she was seeing it. Charles Wallace said, "What's that?" "That sort of shadow out there," Calvin gestured. "What is it? I don't like it." "Watch," Mrs. Whatsit commanded. It was a shadow, nothing but a shadow. It was not even as tangible as a cloud. Was it cast by something, or was it a thing in itself? The sky darkened, the gold left the light, and they were surrounded by blue deepening, until where there had been nothing but the evening sky, there was now a faint pulse of a star. And then another, and another, and another. There were more stars than Meg had ever seen before. "The atmosphere is so thin here," said Mrs. Whatsit, as though in answer to her unasked question, "that it does not obscure your vision as it would at home. Now look straight ahead." Meg looked. The dark shadow was still there. It had not lessened or dispersed with the coming of night, and where the shadow was, the stars were not visible. What could there be about a shadow that was so terrible that she knew that there had never been before or ever would be again anything that would chill her with a fear that was beyond shuddering, beyond crying or screaming, beyond the possibility of comfort? Meg's hands holding the blossom slowly dropped, and it seemed as though a knife gashed through her lungs. She gasped, but there was no air for her to breathe. Darkness glazed her eyes and mind, but as she started to fall into unconsciousness, her head dropped down into the flowers, which she was still clutching, and as she inhaled the fragrance of their purity, her mind and body revived, and she sat up again. The shadow was still there, dark and dreadful. Calvin held her hand strongly in his, but she felt neither strength nor reassurance in his touch. Beside her, a tremor went through Charles Wallace, but he sat very still. He shouldn't be seeing this, Meg thought. This is too much for a little boy, no matter how different and extraordinary a little boy. Calvin turned, rejecting the dark thing that blotted out the light of the stars. "Make it go away, Mrs. Whatsit," he whispered. "Make it go away. It's evil." Slowly, the great creature turned around so that the shadow was behind them, so that they only saw the stars unobscured, the soft throb of starlight on the mountain, the descending circle of the great moon swiftly slipping over the horizon. Then, without a word from Mrs. Whatsit, they were traveling downward, down. When they reached the corona of clouds, Mrs. Whatsit said, "You can breathe without the flowers now, my children." Silence again. Not a word. It was as though the dark shadow had somehow reached out with its dark power and touched them so they were incapable of speech. When they got back to the flowery field, bathed now in starlight and moonlight from another smaller, yellower rising moon, a little of the tenseness went out of their bodies, and they realized that the body of the beautiful creature on which they rode had been as rigid as theirs. With a graceful gesture, it dropped to the ground and folded its great wings. Charles Wallace was the first to slide off. "Mrs. Who? Mrs. Witch?" he called, and there was an immediate quivering in the air. Mrs. Who's familiar glasses gleamed at them. Mrs. Witch appeared too, but as she had told the children, it was difficult for her to materialize completely. And though there was the robe and peaked hat, Meg could look through them to mountains and stars. She slid off Mrs. Whatsit's back and walked, rather unsteadily after the long ride, over to Mrs. Witch. "That dark thing we saw," she said, "is that what my father is fighting?" So if you want to find out if Meg and Charles and Calvin are able to fight off the dark thing and rescue Meg and Charles Wallace's father, you'll need to read A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline England.